What got us to where we are right now in the cattle market? That is the question John and I discuss on today's podcast episode. It has been a wild week since John and I talked last Thursday. And boy, oh boy, 3 limit down days in a row. Absolutely getting it handed to us in the cattle market, in the industry in general. And John and I bring a candid discussion to each and every one of you today on what is happening and how we got here. If you're watching on YouTube, if you could take a second to make sure you are subscribed to our channel and like this episode, we would really appreciate it. And if you are watching on any of our podcast platforms, make sure that you are following the show and take a second to go rate and review it on those platforms as well. Without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into this episode with John. John, welcome back to the podcast. How has your absolutely crazy week been, and how did the sale go on Lahana?
Oh, and I am not laughing. I am, but it is out of complete disgust. What a fiasco. But let's get into it. 6,300 here in Lahana on Monday. 370-pound Charolais steers, 543. Lauren, I called it, the light cattle. If there was any bright spot, it might be in the little light steers. And it's more of the complexion of the guy buying them. He's got lots of time to take that little 300-pounder to weigh 8. So he's got a little more confidence, more individual home-raised input costs that he can put into that animal to try to ride this thing out. So you see that in the little light cattle. I mean, they're put in the hands of people that are going way on out and have a little more time to soak up some of the unknowns. 400-pound steers, 535. We had some 5-weight steers up to 428. We would have been talking $5 and something a week ago today. The real front end 550 weight steers here would still bring $4 up to 409. The 6-weight cattle 360 up to 383, 6.5, 7. Then you're trading with the feedlot guys. The stocker guy is out on one that heavy. Big break right there at about 620, 30 on up. To 7 on these unweaned calves. You get into more like a $3.40, $3.60 market. The 7-weight steers 320 to 346. And it wasn't that long ago we were talking about north of $4 on those. Over on the heifer side, 385-pound heifers. They were Charolais cross heifers. Brought 417. 5-weight heifers, 397. We're seeing pretty good independent rancher producers in buying the front end of these heifer calves. We had replacements of the same weight up to 424. So kind of a $25, $30 premium if you got the goods that'll go back as replacements. 5-weight heifers, some red Angus heifers, a load of them bring 393. The bulk of the 550s kind of on the heifers in the 350 range. More of them bring 350, 60 than bring 390. But I'm telling you about the tops. 6-weight heifers, best we did was like 337, other than some, again, replacement heifers as high as 345. Big 7-weight heifer calves, 290. Some of them that have been weaned in excess of 45 days, up around 298. So it was cheaper.
Big change from our discussion last week, and our discussion last week was rough. And
yeah, and remember it was 10, 15 lower last week.
Yeah.
And we thought,
wow,
that's not good.
No, not good at all. Not good during the season that we're in. You guys are doing your calf sales on Monday now. Like it's busy around here right now, and so it's a rough time to be selling, that's for sure. How about just the other auctions in the winter livestock family? Is this obviously a trend we're kind of seeing across the board right now, but what are your thoughts on those?
everything really pretty similar. Wednesday, Dodge City. The further east you go, the more you get into fall calving rather than spring calving. And so I won't talk a lot about Salina or way back there, mainly because they're still dealing with last fall's calves, yearlings. And so the complexion of when they calve kind of changes the further east you go. But Dodge had 1,654 cattle yesterday. I thought the calf deal probably another 10 or $15 south of where we were at. Remember, Tuesday they were down another $10, so they had to compete with that on top of two limit down moves. But 435-pound steers at Dodge bring 520. Five weight steers at 415, some big 6-weight steers to 392, which would be, still pretty good. You're closer to the feed, you're closer to the feed yards there. The bigger the calves, why they're going to get the freight difference plus a little for them just because convenience. But 430 weight heifers, 430 and 75-pound heifers up to 364. They did have some 7-weight heifers. Dodge City, Kansas at 330. Pratt, Kansas, their sale is going on today. Timing wise, all I can talk about is what went on October the 23rd, 3,267 cattle for them a week ago. Here we go. What a difference 3 limit down days move. Thursday, they'd only had to go through 1 and a little. So you're talking about 370-pound steers bringing 647, 400-pounders at 560. Again, this is a week ago today. This is how much difference there is. 5 1/4 weight steers at 440, some 7-weight cattle up to 370, a little 4-weight heifers to 490, 5-weight heifers in Pratt, Kansas at 405, and 7-weight heifers up to 342. And they had some volume. Riverton, Wyoming, their sale was the day after ours on Tuesday of this week. So this would be a current market. Really resembled our Tuesday market. I thought they had some little peewees up to 582, weighing 3 1/4. The 4-weight cattle at 527. I think our best 4-weight cattle brought 535. But remember, we had another $10 down that they had to deal with just the very next day. 5-weight steers at 472 and 6-weights at 388 in Riverton. Over on the heifer side, 380 weight heifers, a little north of $5, 505. 4-weight heifers up to 485, and some 5-weight heifers pretty strong there at 4 1/4 for the day. So that's kind of what went on around the horn, and the next segment will be about the when and the how and the why.
I'm ready to open up the jar on this next thing. What caused all of this, John? Why are we still continuing to see downturns, limit down days? What are, let me hear it all. I want to hear it all. Which, can of worms is being opened, but let's hear it.
Kind of a timeline. Last Thursday, I lied. And it was a qualified lie. I commented that producers had lost $100 to $150 a head. Wait 5 minutes until our sale on Monday, and that turned into $450 a head. So what I thought was going to be 100 and a half down turned into $450 per head in just a matter of from when you and I talked Thursday to our sale on Monday. But when you have the live cattle futures down on Friday, the limit, down on Monday, the limit, and your sale is on Monday, and nobody knows where we're headed the next day, it is pretty chaotic. I don't think in my lifetime in the marketing industry that I have ever witnessed such a decline. And I was around in 1984 when the stock market crashed, and everybody thought it was the end of the world. Granted, we were talking about cattle only I don't know what the figure was. They were probably bringing less than $1 a pound. We went from 80 down to 60, but even in a percentage basis, I think this move was more drastic than that. And me, like everyone, I called our market, if you'll bring it up 25 to 40 lower on Monday compared to the week before. And I was being kind. Many of my peers, said, well, nothing has really happened and it doesn't matter, and not tongue in cheek, but it and nothing really has happened. Their comment meaning not we haven't created one more pound of beef. We have yet to import anything. Nothing has really happened. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But when my customers you're looking at them there Monday and they're gut shot, and then somebody comes up and clubs them from behind, it does matter. It matters to me. And here's kind of the facts, Jack, that it comes out cattlemen need to lower their prices. That was the famous words out of our president. Well, fat cattle are down over the week $10 to $12 a hundred. The cash calves and the feeders are down anywhere from 20 to 50 to I can show you examples of $1 a pound. That is $100 per hundredweight. Futures are down $54 a hundred, and the cattlemen that are on the receiving end of this slaughter sure as hell got their prices down. Congratulations. We got them down. And in the meantime, packers were able to buy fat cattle $150 a head cheaper, and the meat price has gone up the last 7 consecutive days in a row, adding $5 to the cutout. So there's the end effect of the cowboys getting the prices down. They got them down. And it had absolutely the inverse effect on the price of meat. And how did we get here? On October the 17th, why the market reacts to Trump saying he might buy some Argentine beef. Well, the speculators and the packers and the commercial paper puke on that day. They're down the 925 limit. On Monday, October the 20th, our as I have just commented, our cash and cattle market is down $10 to $15 a hundred. Well, then Trump, Rollins, and Kennedy plan a meeting with the elitists, the Ranch to Rail, the LMA, the Angus Walmart vertically integrated types. And the second they hear about the Argentina announcement, Brazil's okay, but Argentina's out, they don't tell Trump that they're not coming. They are a no-show. They just don't show up. They don't say, I'm sorry, we disagree with you, da, 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 da. He's sitting there in the Oval Office, has a time slot allotted for them, and they are a no-show. No letter, no telegram, no nothing. This, my favorite part of the show, is kind of where my visual aids come into play. And this was confirmed with me, and I'll qualify that in a minute. Trump does not know and does not distinguish between shit, which is the meat market, the packer concentration, vertically integrated breed associations, and our so-called industry affiliates from Shinola. And Shinola being the true producers, the independent cattlemen, and the American first producers. He does not distinguish between the two. He does not know. On the next turn of events, why he gives his secretary the info for the Truth Social post that everybody knows about now, exactly what was said, and we go down the limit again on Wednesday and Friday. Then there's more good news as Rollins meets with the Texas Cattle Feeders Association and the Mexican Ag Ministry president. So you've got all that hoopla that's out in the market saying, oh my God, what's going to happen? And Trump comes out and says he's going to meet with the Brazilians. Well, down the limit on Monday, And then last Tuesday, down another $10. How do I know all this? That is factual. But about the Trump meeting, I spent over an hour on the phone Wednesday night with the only guy that honored his commitment and showed up for the meeting, and with the President of the United States of America. All of our so-called associates don't even tell him they're not coming. He's sitting there waiting for them. And the only guy with guts enough to show up is, and he won't mind me saying, is Jack Payne. And he went there as an independent. He got invited separate as an independent. His discussion was going to be something completely different. He is not a member of NCBA, LMA, or a Common Ground member. He's an auction owner, no bullshit, boots on the ground, cow-calf, yearling guy trying to speak out and work against the federal overreach that's going on federal grounds. So him and Trump and Rollins and Kennedy were all there. To qualify the rest of my little rant here, Kennedy confided with Jack Payne to say that Trump does not know shit from Shinola about the cattle industry. That's what Kennedy told him. He said he assumes we're all in the same camp. Whether you're a packer, a retailer, or a cattleman, you all drink out of the same trough and everything's all hunky-dory. Kennedy told Jack Payne he didn't even think Trump knew who JBS was. And I make the comparison, it would be about like asking me about the space shuttle. The guy has got a jillion venues to address. I don't know nothing about the space shuttle. Now, granted, Trump is an expert in every field for about 5 minutes. And that's part of his success model. But, you know, thank goodness Jack Payne saved a little dignity for our cattlemen. And he told me it has been since 2016 was the last time a sitting president of the United States of America took time for any. And, you know, with Trump's help, you know, the group of these no-shows, I think, did irreversible damage to our markets and the cattleman's image. We may never get another shot. You just don't knock on his door and say, hey, I represent less than 1% of the population. I really need you to listen to what concerns I've got. You're not going to get on the agenda. You had a chance and you blew it. And like I said, hats off to Jack Payne, you know, and he went in there and there's been a lot of dope back and forth. Well, he's the guy that did it and he's the guy that did it. He is not the guy that did it. He was not affiliated with any of those people that were the no-show. He had his own meeting set up. And like I said, maybe we saved, you know, if there's any dignity in or bright spot, he would be one of them. But anyway, that's really how the deal went down. And I know it's old hat and it's old news now, but to clear the air on what I heard firsthand, and I know Jack and I do business with Jack, and he was there. He shook the man's hand. So anyway, can we recover from this? And I'm as pissed as Trump at the next guy. And you know, you follow down, Lauren, you and I's comments. They hope I'm broke. They hope they, you know, shit, you now where's your red hat at now? And da 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 da. Hey, boys, I'm telling you, I got shit running down both my legs and blood coming out of every hole in my body. If you don't think this didn't rip me a new one, you're crazy as hell. I'm right in there. So you want me broke? What? That's fine. They ain't gonna get her done this time, but I may be in the next running. But I would like to think that I'm big enough to think there are other accomplishments, and I am focused on the cattle market, but you can put that other brain dead son of a buck in there, or that gabby babbling sow that could have been in there, and see how you get along with that crap. I still say he has a lot of positive attributes, even though I'm one of the gut shot ones. And if you want financials the next time, I can bring you up that and show you what the losses are to my ass. but he's still the guy, and he's still the best guy that we have out there. I try to look at more than one trait before I shit can a guy. What? Uh, Enough of that. What positive things do we have to look forward to? Well, yesterday, the markets were higher. And that's probably just spec traders being a bottom feeder and saying, oh, well, we'll get a little recovery in here, and maybe they puke again. I don't know. Uh, In my conversation with Jack, he did say, and sincerely and genuinely so, that Rollins and Kennedy want to help, and they know something about the cattle market. Third point, Rollins calls out the big four on Fox and wants to decentralize the beef packing industry. She gets it. She knows they're Brazilian and they control 85% of the slaughter capacity in the United States and wants to do something about it. PowerPoint number 4. The Mexican ag minister says he and Rollins, after their meeting, came to no agreement on opening the border. Number 5. Despite the Texas ag commissioner, Sid Miller, I believe is his name, and the guy, if you watch him on Fox, he has his 2X Bailey hat on and his Western Walmart leather vest that he wears twice a year, whether he has to or not, says Mexican border, this is in spite of all that, is the key, he said, to immediately lowering beef prices. They're 180 to 200 days out before they ever get their throat cut and are harvested and affect the meat prices. But in the meantime, the Texas cattle feeders smile and they present Rollins with a plaque and they get a free picture. But nothing has happened yet, bright point, on the Mexican front. There are 1 million Mexican cattle sitting at the border waiting to come across. That's substantial. Brazil is now the biggest cattle producing country in the world. That is substantial. And, we talked about it, Lauren. We have stooped to becoming a net importer of food. Our government wants to fill the American void with imports, hopefully on the short term. And those two, the Mexican and the Brazilians, not the Argentinas, will be the next big grab your ass sell off if it's handled the same way as last. So that's what we need to be aware of.
Yeah. I think it's important to circle back to one of the points that you made, that it is easy for someone who is not involved in the cattle industry to look at the cattle industry as an entire piece of the pie, right? Like they don't divide up the pie. They're saying here's the whole pie. We are less than 1% of the population. When you are in charge of 100% of the population, less than 1% isn't always a massive concern for you. You have to look at the masses. You have to look at national policy, global policy, all of these other things that are going on. And so I think it's important as cattlemen that we take a step back and we recognize the fact that an individual who has supported the agricultural industry in so many other initiatives made a mistake and wasn't fully understanding of the different pieces of the pie within the cattle industry. But we do have other individuals who understand those pieces of the pie that are hopefully still fighting for the cattle industry, pushing forward in areas that are actually going to make an impact and make a change. Like you said, Rollins went on Fox and called out the big packing industry and all of the big four on that. And then we're talking about all these other things. Everyone has an idea of how we're going to fix this, right? Everyone's throwing their hat out there of like, fix it this way, open up the southern border, do this, do that. And not everyone is correct on their thinking, especially when it comes to the southern border, like you said, John. Unfortunately, in the cattle industry, we don't have a product that is a quick return. It's not a quick cycling product. It takes 2 years to take a product from born to ready to slaughter. And that is a great thing in the cattle industry, but it can also be a hurtful thing when it comes to the media storm that we're in. And I like the point that you made that we haven't actually done a dang thing yet. We haven't brought in any brought in any imported meat from Argentina. We haven't opened up the southern border. We haven't done this. We haven't done that. This is literally a reaction based off of comments from our leadership throughout the United States, reactions from our associations, and the media taking this and running with it.
Right.
And
right.
everyone else saying, I don't know about that cattle industry right now. It's a little rocky over there.
Sure. Yeah. No. And those points you make internally, things we control, are true supply and demand. Those are fundamentals. Those have not changed. They are facts. You won't get our production up until this year's heifer retention has a calf and that calf is sold. And we're looking at 2027. But back to my point, our government is convinced we can fill the void immediately in the meat deficiency by exporting product in and becoming a net importer of food. And that's the tragedy. We talk about it till we're wore out, but why these things make such a huge impact is because, again, repeat, we are too vertically integrated, and you knock one little notch out of the top end of the deal and it goes to shit. The whole deal crumbles. All the spec long funds, all the commercial paper that is controlling our industry, they jump ship. You affect a COVID, you affect a meat packing plant, and everybody goes bonkers because they control such a big supply of what we're about. And until you get the competition back in that highest sector and widen that vertical integration out and do away with it, that's the only way you can get back to a free market enterprise. And why we do not want to challenge that, do I know what the answer is to it? No. I really don't. And Rollins, with her meeting with the boys with the white hat, was going to discuss, and that's all been pushed under the carpet, and we'll talk about that next week. But we're going to try to help you. And that's what she was meeting with those people for. We'll loosen up some federal ground, maybe do a little more grazing. We'll get rid of a lot of this BS about from the spotted owl to the prairie chicken to whatever, where the wild buffaloes roam, and rewilding to where you are not chastised by these EPA and these environmental restrictions that keep you from doing business. We're going to try to work on that. She said we're going to make more packing capacity. That's way down the road. We're going to have packers shut down before we have more open up. Is it a good point? Yes, long term it is. Competition up there is great. So, she has some viable points. Let's try to incentivize young people. Make access to some low interest money, Again, great plan, but you're 3 years out from helping anybody. And that's what they were going to talk about because Trump said something about Argentina. We had a walkout. Well, cripe's sakes, that's not the hill you want to die on, Argentina. And we're rehashing it, but that left a distinct impression on Trump. And he said, forget all you cattle guys. You're all in it together, and that's who you send up here to talk to me, and I grant you access? And okay, what kind of chance leaving that kind of an impression do you got to meet with him again? That's my point. And over a nothing deal, when it could have been positive. And like I said, at least Jack Payne pulled his hat down and went in, and he says, you don't really talk to Trump, you just listen to him. But Kennedy and Rollins, he said, confided in him, wanted to know about some of the federal stuff going on the grazing, which is a big deal in Nebraska. He's trying to help his constituents, which is a hell of a lot more than any of the associations or our representation in the House and Senate has done. And they wanted to learn. They said, give me names, give me lists, and we'll try to do something about it. That means a hell of a lot more to those people coming from a guy with a real pair of cowboy boots and a hat on than some guy in a Walmart vest telling you what you ought to listen to. And I think he maybe did some good. But it is a huge, huge undertaking, and you got to get in the front door first before you can have anything to say about it.
Where do we go from here?
I don't know. We've done a lot of damage, but they can talk about he's a king and he's a this and he's a that, and he shot his happy ass and mouth off, and it ripped the guts out of a lot of people. A lot of people. He doesn't know about the cattle industry, but that is no excuse. He's surrounded by people that should if he would listen. But as Jack Payne walked into the room, and he was the only guy there, he said Trump was speaking in his outside voice to a secretary about the very tweet that went out. You guys don't show up. I allotted time for you and you're a no-show, and you don't even have the respect or the dignity to tell me you're not coming. And now they're backpedaling about, well, we didn't want to go in there empty-handed, not knowing what he was going to say, and then get our presence exposed by a picture with the president. We wanted to know what he was going to talk about. Don't give me that horse shit. If that was the case, then call him and tell him you're not going to come. But to not show up in a guy that his time frame is broke into minutes, I'm sure. Boy, you talk about shitting in your nest. We did it. And those guys, he makes the association that they're all about us. Again, he don't know shit from Shinola, and it's not his job to know it. We wish the hell he did, but he don't. And that was his reaction. Like I said, thank you guys very much. I wish you'd have been sitting here and seen the looks on the faces of the people I had to deal with Monday after they got their head handed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I give a shit. Regardless of what some people may say, they're all friends of mine and customers and associates. And I know every one of them by first name, and I didn't like it very good. And I was helpless. I couldn't help them. Not to the tone of $50, $80, $100 a hundred. You prop it up some, but you can't buy every one of them, So, and it's not the buyer's fault. Hell, they were sitting there on 2 days limit down, wondering what the hell the next day's going to bring. So you got to buy like they're going to be limit down again. And by God, they were down damn near the limit, $10. So anyway, it just leads to what a treacherous son of a buck this has become, because we got, and all my friends are right. The government needs to stay the hell out of our business. Just get the hell out of there. But they're getting prodded by these special interest guys, and who the hell else are they going to believe? We can't seem to come together with a unified voice. And shame on all of us. We're no different than the damn shutdown. It's a pissing match. And I'm part of it. Shame on me. But if you think I got common ground, somebody's going to have to stroke me pretty good before I fall into any common ground. Because I ain't got no common ground with the rotten, self-centered, inconsequential prima donna pukes.
I love that descriptor. I'm going to get that put on a shirt for you, John.
Yeah, thanks.
That's wonderful. Wonderful.
It's just sad, and if I hear one more person tell me that, well, they were getting pretty high, these cattle have gotten awful damn high. Well, get your happy ass out on the street and buy a gallon of gas or a vehicle or fertilizer or feed or parts or you name it. And then tell me how high they are when you're looking at input costs that'll tear your head off. They ain't too high, especially since you've had your ass kicked for the last 10 years, and that's why there's none of you left to deal with. So we're going to make a concession with the Brazilians and the communists to feed us.
Yeah. It's crazy that 20 years ago, you used to be able to make a living as a rancher off of 100 or a couple hundred cows. It was a modest living, but a living. And now it takes double or triple that to bring home the same amount of money to your family at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it takes 5 times that input cost to go into those cattle
Oh, yeah.
to make the same end product.
Most definitely. It's pretty disheartening to see 25% of that taken away in a matter of hours that you had absolutely nothing to do with. You had absolutely nothing to do with. You're not part of the problem.
Yeah, precisely.
So anyway, we've got some good things to look forward to. I mean, hell, they'll sun will come up tomorrow. There'll be another day.
There will be another day. We're resilient. We can push through. And you know what? John and I are going to be here to discuss it. Either way it turns, no matter what, each week and give you guys our candid thoughts and opinions. John, thank you for your time. To all of you listeners out there, if you guys could take a second, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you are subscribed and that you like this episode for us and share with a friend if this is something that you see is interesting or something that someone else in the cattle industry needs to hear. If you're listening on any of our podcast platforms, make sure that you are following the show and take a second to go rate and review it. We really appreciate it here at the team. Thank you for your time today, and we will see you all on another episode next time. Have a good one, y'all.